Rob Brown here with you on a Friday afternoon. Another edition of Sidelines, sidelines.live. If you're listening or watching on the website, sidelines.live. Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, iHeart, TuneIn Radio app, iTunes, Google, Smart TV. It's all over the place. Live streaming on the YouTube TV channel. All kind of crazy stuff. Got a great show, as always. Snakeskin Cowboy in the studio producing. Audrey has come up with some music today from all over the place. It's just, grabbing figures out of thin air. We're going to have Lars Anderson join us here in just a few minutes. Lars is one of the top sports writers in the country, 20-plus years with Sports Illustrated, also Bleacher Report, and has written 10 books on the New York Times bestseller list. He is a journalism professor at the University of Alabama and one hell of a journalist himself. Born out in Lincoln, Nebraska, and one of the smartest people that covers college football and college sports. Does a daily talk show with Jay Barker, quarterback of the Alabama National Championship team in 1992. That show is every day from 12 to 2. You can hear it throughout Alabama. Great show, and like I said, Lars will be joining us. We will be joined at 3:30. Sonny Smith talking SEC basketball. We'll be joined again 3:45 or so. Jimmy Hodge from Chicago, one of our college football contributors. 4 o'clock. Louis Bellini is going to be calling us from College Station, talking Texas A&M football, basketball, recruiting. National Signing Day coming up Wednesday, February 5th. This is the second signing day. And 4:15, Wes Moore from Little Rock 103.7 The Buzz talking Arkansas Razorbacks. How is Sam Pittman doing on the recruiting trail? Eric Musselman getting things going in basketball for the Razorbacks. Talk about that. And around 4:35 or so, if available, he's on the campaign trail. Coach Tommy Tuberville talking SEC, Deep South college football, national college football, and of course, we'll try to mention something snakeskin, the Super Bowl on Sunday. That game, Kansas City and the 49ers. Hey, look, it's the Super Bowl. People will be eating a lot, drinking a lot of road sodas, having a lot of great time. We'll be talking college football today. A lot of these players will be playing in the Super Bowl one day. Our numbers, 901-324-7490 and 901-452-3094. And college basketball underway right now. LSU, it's kind of a shock to me, Snakeskin. They're ranked 22nd. They have won 23 of their last 25 SEC basketball games. Will Wade doing a great job as a coach. They beat Alabama Wednesday night down in Baton Rouge. And Alabama, again, is one of the more improved teams under first-year coach Nate Oates, who came down from the University of Buffalo. They're leading the SEC in scoring. They're also leading the SEC in three-pointers per game. Wasn't good enough against LSU, but Alabama's going to be a team that will be in the conversation to get an NCAA tournament bid, I think, as the season gets deeper and deeper into March. It does drive me a little bit crazy, the bubble. I got to admit, I hate that term. If you're good enough, you'll get there, but it's got to give everybody something to talk about between now and then. A lot of college basketball games. SEC is just so much better, and really, the one team that I'm shocked they still haven't won a conference game this year, Vanderbilt. That is Jerry Stackhouse, first-year coach at Vanderbilt, coming up from Memphis. He was on the staff of the Grizzlies. Of course, he was a great player at North Carolina, played a while in the NBA, but Bryce Drew, the 3 years he was at Vanderbilt were just awful. And Vanderbilt last year, for the first time in school history, had a losing record at Memorial Gymnasium in Nashville. That's kind of hard to believe, but it also tells you about the great tradition. And they consistently do well in basketball at Vanderbilt. Certainly football has been more of a struggle, but Vanderbilt basketball struggling. And Ole Miss still with one conference game. They had a tough loss the other night, Tuesday night. Auburn, they had Auburn down by 19 points, and Auburn came back and won that game in double overtime, 83-79. to 82. That was a little bit of a shock for, I think, a lot of people to see a team come from that far down. Although Auburn, believe it or not, is ranked 17th in the country, they have struggled on the road. In 3 road games this year, Auburn is averaging shooting less than 35% from the field and no more than 27 points in a first half this year against Alabama, Florida, and Ole Miss on the road. Great teams find a way to win games that no one thinks they have a chance to win. The elite teams win the majority of their games on the road. The officiating on road games in the SEC it's abysmal, but you've got to expect that. You've just got to be better than all the circumstances, and if you're not, you're going to come away with a loss. Snakeskin, let's talk for a second here about Tennessee basketball. The Vols this year, they went out there and played a good game against Kansas last weekend in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. I don't think that was a surprise that Kansas won, but Tennessee has had to replace so many players from last year's team. I think a few people may have been surprised by how close that game was. Tennessee's going to be a much better team as the season goes along. I'm not going to be surprised one bit. But the SEC right now, LSU would be my best team because they haven't lost. Nobody's beating them. Kentucky, they have so much talent, especially with all those freshmen. They'll get better as the season goes along. That's Kentucky basketball. Auburn, their athleticism gives them a chance in every game, and they play great defense. But Auburn has got to overcome these horrible starts in road games. The game against Alabama, they lost by 19. They lost by 22 at Florida. They were able to overcome it against Ole Miss. Ole Miss just doesn't have depth this year. This is, I guess you could call it a gap year. Kermit Davis, great coach. He won 16 years at Middle Tennessee State, built a heck of a program there. There's a long way to go in this season, but there are a bunch of teams right there in the middle. Arkansas is one of them. Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, South Carolina, Mississippi State. It's another good one. I think Sonny Smith has said this a number of times on the show. Mississippi State is a big team, and they're well coached. Ben Howland, 3 Final Fours at UCLA, hasn't gotten Mississippi State into the Final Four, obviously, since he's been there. But I'll tell you this much. As long as he's there, he's going to recruit well, and they're going to be a threat in every game that they play. That is Mississippi State basketball, playing at the hump. But again, when you go on the road in the SEC, hostile crowd, you're going to have to deal with the officiating, and that's just a tough thing you're going to have to handle. But you got to learn this early on. Don't wait for adversity to hit you. You bring adversity to your opponents. All right, Lars Anderson joining us right now from Birmingham. And Lars, welcome to the show, and thanks for being on with us.
Hey, thank you again for having me. It's great to be with you again.
All right. Lars, you're down in Birmingham. You teach journalism at the University of Alabama, and that is it's a lost art a lot. We see around the country, TV, radio. You've got that skill set. 20-plus years at Sports Illustrated. You write for Bleacher Report. You are a co-host with Jay Barker on a daily talk show, 12 to 2 every day in Birmingham throughout Alabama. You've seen so much happen. You've interviewed Nick Saban probably more than anybody. 10 New York Times bestseller books about Alabama, Coach Bryant, Coach Saban, the Alabama dynasty. You look at Alabama. Nick Saban's been there 13 years. He's 152 wins and 23 losses. And he doesn't look like he's even thinking about slowing down. They go 11-2 this year. Something tells me Alabama's like a slingshot. You can pull them back, and then they're going to come flying back. Something tells me this coming year is going to be really big, and Nick Saban is going to want to put this record in his corner to get the 7th national championship. But what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah. You know, the fact that Alabama has so many players coming back this year that we all want to see go to the NFL draft and really go and you know, they have a young quarterback named Bryce Jones who right now I think 24/7 has as the #1 overall player in the country. Not saying that Bryce Jones is going to come in and take the starting position away from Mac Jones, but I think Alabama likes everything that they have coming back because they're going to have experience on the defense. They're going to have experience on the offensive line. Najee Harris is probably going to be the top running back in the SEC. And yeah, they lose Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver, but you know they're getting Devontae Harris back. They have all sorts of weapons, and you know it'll be interesting to see. And their schedule is difficult. You know they open with USC, and then they have Georgia third game of the season. But Georgia has really been decimated in terms of all the guys they had leave for the NFL. I was really surprised that Jake Fromm left. I don't think Jake is ready. I think Jake is probably like a 3rd or 4th round draft pick. So that was surprising. So they have an alarming lack of depth and experience at quarterback. I know they got that kid from Wake Forest, but it's going to take a while for him to sort of acclimate. And so, you know, I think Alabama will probably begin the year 3rd or 2nd or 3rd or 4th in the country. And it's sort of business as usual. And I mean, you're right. I've spent a lot of time around Nick. He's not slowing down. And I think everybody around the program right now just feels good where they are.
Looking at this past season, I guess the preseason, Dylan Moses goes out, your linebacker, really your quarterback on your defense. Alabama had a few other injuries, but the big one happened in November on the road at Mississippi State. There were people out there that wanted to criticize Nick Saban. How could you let Tua be in the game at that time? I thought that was unfair and, quite frankly, ridiculous. These kids, it's hard to keep them off the field. Tua's gone now. Mac Jones, kid out of Jacksonville Bowles School, came in, obviously, against Auburn and against Michigan. He looked really good. He's got great personnel around him. Talk about the role Steve Sarkisian is playing in developing quarterbacks because, again, when Tua went out, Alabama really didn't miss a beat. I mean, offensively at least. Defensively, they struggled. They did lose the Auburn game. But I think Sarkisian is a really good coach. And do you think he is going to get back a head coaching job, maybe even in the South?
Yeah, I mean, there was a big fear in Tuscaloosa that Sarkisian was going to get one of the jobs in the SEC. And the fact that able to retain him, and you know, a big criticism of Saban and Alabama in years past has been this turnover on the coaching staff, and there was really minuscule turnover this year on the staff, and so you know, I think they feel very comfortable with Mac Jones. And if you look at Mac Jones' numbers over his first sort of 4, 5, 6 games and compared to Tua's, Mac Jones actually has better numbers. And there was that freak interception against against Auburn, where hit the back of shoulder pads or helmet of Najee Harris.
Yeah.
Returned 100 yards, 102 yards for a touchdown. So everything went right for Auburn to win. And, hey, they won. But I think Matt Jones won a lot of people over and played with confidence. As you mentioned, we were rating on Jay, and Jay's son is a quarterback who's back, and they speak so hard that he's really hard on himself. I think Saban has been teaching him, hey, if something doesn't go right on one play, wipe it from memory, and then move on to the next play. And that's what Saban's process is all about. It's all about what can we do that's right in front of you to make sure that you do the best job that you can, given the circumstances of what is in front of you. And I think you're seeing that now.
Lars, a lot of people out there are asking this question. You're down in Birmingham. You're in Tuscaloosa. You're around Nick Saban. Again, you have written books about him, Coach Bryant, the Alabama Dynasty. If he's showing it, you really can't tell, but internally, do you think there's a lot of pressure for Nick Saban to get that elusive 7th national championship and become known as the greatest coach of all time? Of course, when Brian was coaching, it was a totally different era than what we're dealing with now. But Nick Saban, you've said this before, it isn't luck. It's no mystery. He just outworks everybody. And that, again, I don't see him slowing down, but talk about that if you can.
Yeah, I don't think Nick will any pressure whatsoever. He does what he does. He doesn't, I can't emphasize this enough, he doesn't focus on it. He never has. And it's just all about what you're doing in the moment. And the end results will ultimately take care of themselves if you do everything you can in the moment, in the day, to make yourself as prepared as possible. And I think the offense could change a little bit next year, especially with Najee Harris coming back. And again, that was a surprise to all of us here in Alabama that Najee's going to come back. And he should begin the year as the first string, preseason tailback. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go to a little bit more ground-based attack and having Dylan Brooks back. And, at one point when they were playing Auburn in the Iron Bowl, they had 9 true freshmen out on the field on defense. 9. And so now all those guys have a year of experience and get a lot of guys back from injury. And so, there's a high level of confidence. And, sometimes you learn more, you learn more failure than you do.
Yeah,
and I think that happens to happen.
Yeah, and that's Nick Saban 101. Never let a failure go without learning a lot from it. Lars, we're up against a hard break here, but I have one last question. You're looking ahead to next year in college football, and this is, I guess, a whole nother topic. But what are we going to do to maintain the interest of the kids in college now? That whether you're winning, whether you're losing, regardless, they're leaving the games early, and they're just not interested. Just a short answer on that, and I'd like your thoughts, and we'd love to have you back on again anytime you can be with us. You're a great guest, and really enjoy this.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think, you know, all these kids, like, who don't want to play indoor games, or they just shut it down. We saw this with Bosa at Ohio State, and now Bosa is probably the most dominant defensive player in the league, playing with the San Francisco 49ers. It's just an emerging trend. And by the way, I like Kansas City. I like Kansas City on Sunday. I don't know, but
I do too.
I'm all in Kansas City.
Hey, Lars, as a kid, one of my favorite players, and I'll just leave with this, was the field goal kicker that was there for about 40 years, Jan Stenerud. I loved him. And, of course, Hank Stram had one of the greatest head rugs in professional sports history.
Yeah,
So, it was great. Hey, Lars, we're gonna take a hard break. We're gonna have you back on again. Thank you so much. Tell people how they can listen to you. We have a lot of listeners on iTunes and TuneIn Radio. They can listen to you every day down in Alabama.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at LarsAnderson71 and jbarkerradioshow.com. So, yeah, I'd love to have everybody join in. We're on from 12 to 2 Central every day.
All right. Hey, thank you so much. We look forward to having you on again. Have a great weekend.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be joined by Bob Kessling, the voice of the Tennessee Vols. He is on the way, or actually in Starkville. They got a big one tomorrow at the Hump against Mississippi State.
Where did you get that tailgate deal? Cowboy Safe. Cowboy Safe. Where are the best liquor deals? Cowboy Safe. Cowboy Safe.
You know what my man cave needs?
What's that, Rob?
A giant screen TV with surround sound.
You should go to gaddishome.com.
That's right. They can do all of this without costing us a fortune. They can also put in the security cameras and outdoor lighting you've been wanting forever.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Hey, check them out at gaddishome.com or on our website, sidelines.live. That's Gaddis Home Innovation.
Now you had a car wreck, so what will you do? Call Tom Martin's Body Shop, and they will help you. Tom will tell you how much, and maybe you'll cry. Give you help with insurance, and that is a lie. And before you know it, your car is like new. Call Tom Martin's Body Shop if anyone hates you.
All right, Rob Brown back here with you on Sidelines Friday afternoon. 324-7490, area code 901-452-3094. We're going to be joined by a great guest, Bob Kessling, the voice of the Tennessee Vols. And Bob, thank you so much for joining us. I know the Vols play Mississippi State tomorrow, but real quick, if you could, talk about that game out at Kansas. Tennessee played a pretty good game out there, ran out of gas at the end, but what did you think about the Vols? What was the takeaway from that game?
Well, I think they fought hard. I think Coach Barnes liked the effort. Too many turnovers, which has plagued this team recently. and just didn't make plays down the stretch. They had no answer for Azubuike down low, but not many teams do. When their big guy wasn't in the game, Tennessee really controlled things. When he came back in the game, Tennessee didn't have many answers for him. Pons had 24, but most of those came when Azubuike was out of the game. So, but I think Tennessee knew that going into the season they were going to struggle with teams that had a lot of size and a lot of strength, and that takes us to Mississippi State, and they've got a lot of size and a lot of strength, and I think they're one offensive rebound behind Auburn for the league lead. So that doesn't bode very well. And you just gave up 23 offensive rebounds to Texas A&M. So it's a tough stretch of the schedule. I think everybody knew that this was coming. When you got to go on the road now to play Mississippi State, then you go to Alabama, you got Kentucky next Saturday. You still got to play Auburn twice. There are a lot of big games coming up. And if Tennessee has any hope at all of making the NCAA tournament, they got to win their fair share of these tough teams coming up.
How tough is it playing on the road in the SEC now compared to 5 years ago?
Well, I think it's always been tough. I mean, I sit there with Bert Camp all the time, and you start talking about winning on the road. Tennessee had a lot of really good teams back there in the 70s and the 80s. And if you got 3 or 4 road wins a year, that was pretty good. And, that's when you had really good basketball teams going to the NCAA tournament. It's always been different.
Yeah.
To win on the road in this league, and I think that this, a lot of it has to do with noise. You play with a different basketball sometimes. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize, that the home team gets to pick the basketball. So if you've been practicing all season with a Nike ball, maybe you go someplace like Kansas, they played with an Adidas ball, which I don't know what the difference in the feel is, but I'm sure the players could tell you it's a little bit different. So that's just one thing you have to do. The ground's different when you're shooting. Staying in a hotel is different. All those things. So, and then of course at Kansas, the crowd was such a big factor. That's a great place to go watch a basketball game, because the crowd there knows when the team needs a lift. He knows when the team needs you to get behind them, and they responded, and Kansas's team responded to that. So,
yeah.
Just just a lot. All those things that have always held true in this league. That it's very difficult to get a conference road win, and usually the team that wins the championship is the one that's got the best road record in the league.
Yeah, and talking about LSU, they've won 23 of their last 25 league games. They're undefeated now at 8-0, yet they're only ranked 22nd. Auburn's 17th. Kentucky, I think, is 13th. And a lot of the talking heads on ESPN are saying it's not a great year for the SEC. And maybe we don't know that yet. I look for Tennessee to make a run. Rick Barnes, he's won everywhere he's ever been. That's all he ever does is he wins. And he's talked about this recruiting class that he got in November, and maybe any players still out there on the edge that Tennessee may be able to get in the second signing period for basketball.
I can't deal in recruiting.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah, I work for the university, so I can't talk about any of that stuff. But the guys that he's signed, obviously it's turned heads. He's got they're ranked number 4 in the country, and I'm sure he'd like to add a player or two. But, there's a lot of good guys now. They wish some of those guys could play this year. They could use them. But this team is still a work in progress. I don't ever remember a team where suddenly in January you add your starting point guard and you add your backup center, and then expect those guys to step right. What Vescovi did is to come in from Uruguay on a Saturday and then have a week to practice, and then the next Saturday he's starting in an SEC game. I've never heard of such a thing. And so he's still making the adjustment, not only to college basketball, not only to Rick Barnes, but living in the United States full time. So I think it's a tremendous story. And then, Juraj Plašić, he's a guy that's still trying to find his way a little bit. He's a 7-footer, and he's played, 4 or 5 games now, still looking for his first block shot. So you would hope that, he could defend the rim a little bit more, and Tennessee will need him to do that. Coach Barnes said yesterday, when I was talking to him, he said he's going to have to force Plašić into the game more. He's just going to have to let him play through some of the mistakes and just get out there, because they need his big presence, his big body out there to protect the rim if nothing else. So Um, it's still, I don't know how much better this team can get. I think there is a pretty good upside to it. But they've got to be efficient. They've got to shoot the ball better. Bowden's can't be up and down like he's been. And they still have, and they got to rebound better. What Texas A&M did to them on the other night, Tuesday night, just keeping all those balls alive and then finally scoring. That was, and Coach Barnes said, which is tough for a coach to say, a lot of that was about effort. And that's probably one of the last things you want to hear from your coach is that your team lacks effort. But that's all rebounding in, especially offensive rebounding. It's about effort, going to the glass, being more physical, and Texas A&M, that was the more physical team, and that's how they got the win.
Looking around, when Mike Slive 6 or 7 years ago issued the edict, we've got to ramp up our basketball programs. All these TV contracts, they're paying a lot of money. They deserve better. The days, and Sonny Smith is going to be on the show here in just a few minutes with us. He talks SEC basketball, color analyst on the Auburn Network. But he said the days of the football-only schools in the SEC are long gone. And with the money and the resources that the schools in the SEC have, it's now being directed more toward the basketball programs. How high is high? How far do you think the SEC can go, and can the conference pass the ACC in terms of national prestige?
Well, that's asking a lot. I mean,
it is.
Basketball is so important in the ACC, and it's important in the Big Ten too. They're still, they're talking to 10 or 12 teams from the Big Ten going to the NCAA tournament this year. So I think the scheduling has been good. For a long time, and during that time you're talking about, I mean, the SEC didn't play anybody.
Yeah.
And some of these big matchups around the country, there was no interest in the game until conference games started because they didn't play any good non-conference teams. And so that has changed. And Rick Barnes, I mean, this schedule that Tennessee put together this year is about as challenging a schedule as any team has played. I mean, look at Washington and Memphis, Cincinnati. Now, I don't know how good all those teams are going to wind up being. I don't know where Memphis is going to wind up. Cincinnati's making a little bit of a charge here. Washington's on it, but it's one of those, when the season starts and you break down the schedule, I would put Tennessee's schedule up against anybody else's in the country. And I think Rick Barnes is going to do the same thing next year. They'll play, they're trying to get a game with Villanova up in Madison Square Garden. So that tells you he'll go any place to play anybody. But I think that helps you. When if you stub your toe a couple of times, the Texas A&M loss, even though it's very painful, if Tennessee can still take care of business down the stretch, that loss won't be as painful because of your strength of schedule and who you play. It's when you don't play anybody and then you drop a game like Texas A&M that really kills you. Now, Texas A&M, they might turn around and have a great second half of the season. I haven't looked at their schedule or their breakdown of who they're playing, but they've got a decent basketball team. So I think there are a lot of decent to good basketball teams in the league. I'm not sure there's any really great. I mean, LSU is kind of playing on a tight wire right now. I mean, they've played so many tight games, so many close games, and they figured out a way to win them. So you tip your hat to them because that means they're a pretty good basketball team, and they must be pretty well coached because I think that's the difference when you win these close games. There's another team out there that the Dayton Flyers. When nobody heard of Dayton when the season started, but suddenly Dayton is ranked, I think they're fifth in one of the power rankings the NCAA uses, and they've done it because they've won close games. They shoot the ball well, and they lead the nation in assists. They're doing a lot of things that you need to do to win games. So if you can put together a string of games where you're playing well, you're sharing the ball, you're not having defensive breakdowns, you can jump a lot of teams because there just aren't that many dominant teams out there in college basketball this year. You go on an 8 or 9 game winning streak, and you're going to zoom up the polls right now.
Yeah, and that's what happened last year. If you remember, late in the season, Auburn lost at Kentucky by 26 points. I think people gave them up, left them for dead on the side of the road, and they won 12 straight and came within a very close call of playing for the national championship against Texas Tech, another team that plays great defense and got hot at the right time.
Yeah. Well, the teams that play great defense have got a big advantage right now because nobody can shoot. It's amazing. None of these teams can shoot. And Rick Barnes, who was on the rules committee, said he didn't think moving the line back was going to affect the game that much. He said the 3-point shooting will drop some because all the guys want to shoot 3-point shots. That's what the game is evolved into.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if he and the rules committee had realized it was going to drop this much. I mean, there are a lot of bad shooting teams out there, and the analytics still tell you to take 3-point shots because the 3 is still better than the 2 if you make them. But the problem is, a lot of these teams, they just can't make them, and there's a lot of ugly basketball out there. So, but I would be interested to see what Coach Smith has to say about that. Let's get him on. But I think that there are a lot of coaches that really believe that moving the 3-point line. Now, I think players will make the adjustment because they'll have all summer to work on that line being moved off, and the kids coming up will be working from that range and not from the early range. But I think this year, college basketball is really taking a hit because there are a lot of games that are just really hard to watch.
Yeah, there are. And last thing, Ole Miss's women basketball team last night scored 2 points in the first half of their conference game against South Carolina. Granted, they're the number 1 team in the country. That's really sad. I can remember watching basketball, you and I both. Teams had those shooting guards, guys like John Morant. I wouldn't say they were a dime a dozen because he was the number 2 pick in the NBA draft, but people shot the ball. Fundamentals were strong. I am going to ask Coach Smith because it was right at the end of Chuck Person's career at Auburn when the 3-point line became a big deal. And of course, last year it really helped a lot of teams, especially Auburn, go far in the tournament. And they're not doing it this year, but you're right. Overall, the shooting in the league and college basketball is way down, and that's just time in the gym, isn't it?
Well, true. And I got a good question for you. Steve, you got the answer.
All right.
Who's hit the fewest 3-point shots in the SEC this year?
Probably Auburn.
Nope.
Let me think here. Tennessee? I mean LSU.
No. You give up?
Yes.
Kentucky.
Wow. Okay, Kentucky.
Who would have ever thought that? I mean, Kentucky has kind of built under Calipari shooting 3-point shots. But
Yeah.
they have the fewest makes in the SEC this year. I mean, I never would have guessed that. I don't know if anybody would have guessed that.
No.
They haven't made 100 3-pointers yet.
Yeah, and they're sitting there at 16-4 right now.
Yeah, so they're taking the ball inside. They figured it out that either they can't make them or they don't want to take them anymore. And so I can't remember a season where Kentucky wasn't. You remember the Rick Pitino changes. I mean, that's all they did was bomb away. And a lot of John Calipari's teams, when they had Tyler Hero and a bunch of these guys for the shoot,
Yeah.
They were always taking 3-point shots. But they are last in the SEC in 3-pointers made, which to me kind of gives you an indication. They got all those 5-stars up there, and they're not making 3-point shots. So that tells you how the game is.
It really has. Bob Kessling, thank you so much. Good luck tomorrow down at the Hump in Starkville for Tennessee, and look forward to having you on again. And I'm going to ask a lot of these questions to Coach Smith, who's on the line with us. And again, thank you so much for being on. Have a great weekend.
All right, Steve.
Okay. All right, we're joined now by Sonny Smith, former head basketball coach at East Tennessee State, Auburn, Virginia Commonwealth, currently a color analyst on the Auburn Basketball Network. And Coach, I know you're pressed for time today. We won't keep you long, but welcome to the show. And let's talk about the past week and this weekend in SEC basketball. I just had Bob Kessling, the voice of the Tennessee Vols, on, and he said to ask you this question about the line moving back for 3-point shots this year and the struggles so many teams are having in shooting. You being a coach, you've forgotten more than we all know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's definitely affected. I think people, 8 out of 10 people are still throwing them up there at the same rate. They're not going down, and I think it's because they moved the line back. Now, when they moved that line back, that put a little more emphasis on getting into the lane on the dribble. And I think what people are doing, they're forcing teams into shooting more twos than they used to because of moving that line back and not giving up a three-point shot, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
They got to get in that lane. Well, now, what you're going to do to get in that lane, are you going to take your help shot people and run them over there and cover the line to throw over there? Or are you going to let one guy guard that three-point shooter? I think we're having more people just with one rim protector waiting to do that. And that's the guy striking the one guy that doesn't shoot the ball. The big guy doesn't go out and shoot it as much in most situations. So I think that's where the thing has changed too. But I do think the three-point line certainly has effect, especially the percentage that teams shoot. I'm looking at Kentucky's percentage from three. It is better than Auburn's percentage shooting from three. But I would say that we have attempted a heck of a lot more probably than Kentucky has.
That's right. How important is it when you're playing a team that takes a lot of three-pointers to be quick enough to get out there and get those long rebounds and take them the other way?
Well, I think it's added up to more up-tempo basketball because of it. Because the ball's bouncing long, it's already starting a fast break for you. And the more they try, the better, if you block out, the better your chances are of running. And it's not many people will just rebound it and pitch it to a point guard and run on down the floor. They will look for a strong outlet. If they get it, they're going to run with it.
Coach, Auburn is 18-2 right now. The 2 losses, the road games by 19 at Alabama, by 22 at Florida, down 19 the other night. That was a great broadcast. I feel like the good old days before every game was on TV, listening to you and Andy. Yes, and a foul. I mean, God, y'all are good. And listening to you the other night against Ole Miss, down by 19. Auburn came back and won the game. In the last 10 years, SEC teams down by 17 or more at the half were 0-102. Auburn, first team to break that win. That's how hard it is to do it. Obviously, the officiating, the crowds, they're always going to be a problem on the road. Looking, Auburn in the 3 road games at Bama, at Florida, at Ole Miss, all really good coaches, good teams, good talent. Auburn's not shooting above 35%, and they haven't scored more than 27 in the first half of any of those games. I know Auburn replaced a lot of players. They have 5 seniors, a lot of new players. Athletically, they're really strong. They play great defense. If you're the coach, how do you cure that?
You keep working on getting off to a quick start by making sure that you get early shots for your shooters. You make sure that you get open shots as opposed to closed shots that are being heavily guarded or guarded. That's the first thing that you do. And you depend on making sure that your opponent only gets 1 shot. Don't give them a chance to get two shots when you're in such a shooting. Let's say you're having a very difficult time making shots. Don't let your opposition have 2 shots to score when you're not even hitting on 1.
Coach, you were one of your players is the best rebounder I can ever remember. I remember in high school when you signed him out of Leeds, Charles Barkley. They said he was 6'7", 6'8". I don't know if he was 6'4", 6'5", whatever.
Yeah,
best rebounder. Okay.
At the most.
Okay. Best rebounder, and he wasn't the biggest guy on the field. What was it about him that made him so much better at rebounding than everybody else? And he could run the floor. He could do it all. He's in the Hall of Fame, of course. But compare him to why a player today that has even better athletic ability, is leaner and faster, isn't getting anywhere close to the number of rebounds.
Well, now it's hard for an inside guy to be a big-time rebounder because most shots are going to bounce for long. Perimeter big guys are probably better perimeter players or better rebounders, even though they're perimeter players, because most balls are bouncing along. But I'll tell you what, instinct is the guys that have an idea where the ball's coming off and gets to that spot. That's the key. And you got to be able to see your man see the ball away from you. But if you see that ball and keep around that ball and you really fight to get the rebound, you're going to get a lot of rebounds. There's no question. Charles was great at anticipating. Anticipation is the key. Where it's going to bounce off, when they're going to shoot it, that type of thing.
Coach, everybody talks again so much about the lack of great shooters in college basketball today. I remember back when you were coaching, you had guards like Bubba Price. You had some really good shooters. You had some really good inside people. You had some of the best players in Auburn and SEC in college basketball history. Why is it that so many of today's players just free throw shooting is a struggle, and shooting for the guards is sometimes teams are only scoring 15 and 20 points in the entire first half? How much time can they practice?
I think a lot of that happened because of the way kids got to be good. They got to be good by getting involved in pickup games where you don't shoot free throws, and also jumping in with AAU teams who don't practice hard, but they don't practice a ton of free throws. And I think that just ignoring the fact that free throws are a big part of the game is what created a lot of problems. And the thing that's so discouraging about that is a great shooter probably doesn't think he has to, but there's a ton of great shooters out there that can't make a free throw. And there's a ton of guys out there that can, that don't shoot very well. I'll give you a good example. Ashton Higgins plays for Kentucky. He shoots 43%, and he that means he's not making a good percentage. He shoots less than 30 at times from the three, yet he shoots 81% from the free throw line. Then you go to another guy who should be scoring. Sestina, for instance, on their team, he shoots 41% from the three-point line, which is terrific, by the way, and he shoots 81 from the line. Now, there's a real shooter there.
Yes.
And then you'll find a guy that shoots 17% from the three-point line. They'll shoot 8 or 9 from the free throw line. So it's an unbelievable. Like, for instance, one guy on the Kentucky team shoots 17% from the free throw line. From three-point line, and he shoots 31 from the field, and he shoots 78% of his free throws. It's the most interesting thing to talk about, and not have any answer to of any shot in the game.
All right.
Free throw.
It is. And Coach, last question. I know you got to go. Auburn, first time ever for basketball, will host ESPN Game Day. And Coach, this is wild. My son, every game, Dad, can you find me tickets? He's a student at Auburn, and which I think is a great problem. He says, well, you got to stand in line for 6 hours. Again, that's what you want your program to have. Talk about that Auburn-Kentucky basketball matchup tomorrow, 5 o'clock Central Time on the Color TV. We've been talking about Kentucky shooting and Auburn. Just going to be a great game, great atmosphere. That Auburn home crowd's going to have to be ready because Kentucky is always a threat to. They're like Superman when you take them off.
Yes, they got Kentucky. They come into your building more confident than most other teams because they've been so dominant over the years, and that's schooled into them by a great coach named Calipari. They don't have any fear of the road. Some teams will have some hesitancy or have some fear of the road. I think he gets his team in there thinking they win anyway. And consequently, they do. This team that he has this year is shooting very well. They shoot free throws. They're close to 33% on threes. They take care of the basketball. And boy, but the thing about the Kentucky team, if you're a good defensive team, your chances of winning on the road are better. And I think Kentucky does a great job of playing defense. They put teams in a position where they can only make 28%, for instance, from three. And that means that they can really shut you down. And defense works, it doesn't have a roadmap. It works anyway. Shooting sometimes changes a little bit with the road. But these guys, they win their game because they're so big and they're so athletic on the perimeter that defense wins games for them.
Well, defense
And
travels.
really well too, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Another great weekend of SEC basketball. Coach, we are always honored to have you on the show with us every week. Have a great weekend. We'll be listening in tomorrow and look forward to having you on to tell some great stories.
Thank you very much. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you so much. Let's take a quick commercial break. Thank some of our sponsors. I want to say something real quick before we do. Two of our sponsors, Pimentos and Holiday Ham. You know the Holiday Ham name. Don Jordan, his son Trey, started back in 1993 with the pimento cheese and the hams. 7 locations in the Memphis area, Holiday Hams. Now Pimentos. 6450 Poplar Avenue, 3751 South Houston Levee in Collierville. Pimentos is the Super Bowl headquarters for your food stop this weekend. They've got great wings, burgers, quesadillas. They're open until 9 o'clock every night, including Sundays. Check them out, Pimentos, 6450 Poplar Avenue. They've got great catering, by the way, the taco bar. Let them know if you have an event you want to cater. And also 3751 South Houston Levee in Collierville. And also Rocky's Alterations, 1866 Poplar Crest Cove, behind Mecca Eye Care, across the street on Poplar. If you're going east, just before Kirby, from Pimentos. Rocky's Alterations, men's and women's alterations, men's suits, sport coats, blazers, dress shirts, dress pants, anything that involves a needle and thread. This is the nephew of Richard Capadia, Rocky. Rocky's Alterations. We'll be right back with Jimmy Hodge up in Chicago talking some more college football and basketball.
We don't just say we care, we show we care. At Ortho One, that's the motto we live by. We place an emphasis on seeing our patients as quickly as possible without sacrificing quality in the care that each patient deserves. Our experienced orthopedic physicians, all of whom are surgeons, display a genuine interest in your concern for your time, and a friendly, skilled staff are what you can expect every time you visit one of our offices in Arlington, Collierville, and Olive Branch. Fast, quality care. That's the Ortho One difference. Check them out at ortho1.org.
Kitchens Unlimited is celebrating 50 years in the business of building kitchens and baths. They're located at 3550 Summer Avenue near the intersection of Summer and Highland. Joe and Karen Castle, the company line up over 27 years. They're open weekdays, Mondays and Fridays from 10 to 5, not open on the weekend. Check out their website, kitchensunlimited.net.
You know, Rob, I'm looking at their website. I've been in Kitchens Unlimited before. They have great inventory. It's a great way that they take you through the process. They're talking to you about what you want to do and what your budget is. And we feel like it's a very personal process all along the way. And as anyone knows, bathrooms and kitchens, they sell homes, they make homes. So it's a great store.
You're right. I don't think I could have said it any better. Women know more about what makes the kitchen work, what makes the bathroom work. These people are the best. They work with architects, builders, developers throughout the Mid-South. But at Kitchens Unlimited, 3550 Summer Avenue in the intersection of Summer and Highland. They've been in the business now 50 years. Check out their website, kitchensunlimited.net. There are members of the sidelines, live team. Check them out on their website, kitchensunlimited.net.
If you have a class, this something go to GE, Patterson, and BBT. Become my inside shop.
Bob Brown back with you here on the sidelines. Man, that is fun. Bob Kessling, voice of the Tennessee Vols. You know, we asked that question, does Smokey fly to the games? Does Smokey drive to the games? Audrey thinks that Smokey should have a caravan of Tennessee admirers who escort him to every game. But we're going to have somebody send us a picture to sidelines.live of them and Smokey. They've seen him on a road trip. We need to confirm if he flies or if he drives. All right, Jimmy Hodge is joining us now from Chicago. Jimmy, I'm eating some of these Pimentos barbecue nachos. Holy cow, this stuff is really, really good. And thank you for joining us on the show. We got the Super Bowl coming up this weekend, Sunday. Kansas City, the 49ers. Be plenty of SEC players on there. I'm going with the Chiefs because as a kid I grew up with Jan Stenerud, was one of my favorite players, the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I tell you, my dad is one of the greats at identifying head rugs. And Hank Stram had one of the greatest head rugs, heads of artificial hair of all time, and also one heck of a coach and a great analyst on CBS radio.
Yeah, no doubt. I see this as one of the, best matchups in recent Super Bowl history. And that Kansas City offense, I hadn't seen anything like that in a while. When they put up, I guess it was 41 in a row on the Titans after falling behind, and then they did the same thing against the Texans. I mean, they just blitzed them after the Texans. It looked like they were going to be in a position to pull away, and I tell you what, you're going to have your hands full. I mean, Mahomes is just one of those evidently once-in-a-generation quarterbacks, and he's just tough to deal with.
He is, and played at Texas Tech. Of course, he's got the great lineage. Father was a professional athlete. Andy Reid won a lot of games with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's also suffered a lot of personal tragedies in his family, off the field. The man has incredible focus. I like him. He reminds me a lot of Wilford Brimley on the sidelines from a little TV show. I think he's one of the best offensive minds, play callers ever in football. I mean, Bill Walsh type talent, don't you?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And he, along his assistant coach stops with the Packers, he was really instrumental in the success of Brett Favre, and he's just an offensive genius, and he's just done a great job with everybody that he's worked with. I mean, the Eagles, before he got there, I don't know that they kept a coach more than 3 or 4 years at a time, and he brought stability to that franchise, not to mention their second Super Bowl berth, and he's, again, just a sensational coach.
Jimmy, look around you. We just finished the college football season where LSU is regarded by a lot of people as maybe the greatest team of all time. 7 victories over top 10 teams, 5 victories over teams that won 11 or more games. Joe Burrow broke every passing record and touchdown record in SEC history. He's also a really good runner. And that LSU team was decimated. Dave Aranda, defensive coordinator, now the new head coach at Baylor. After Matt Rule, got the job as the Carolina Panthers head coach. And their offensive mind, Joe Burrow, who's the passing game coordinator, took a job with Rule at Carolina as his offensive coordinator. And a guy that you hear this a lot, but he was so humble and so gracious. But Steve Ensminger is a really good coach. He's still at LSU. Coach O is still at LSU. They've got a lot of talent. They're having a heck of a recruiting year, along with Auburn and Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and Texas A&M and Florida. What's new? The SEC just gets tougher and tougher and tougher. What do you think about LSU? And then after that, I'm going to have you on here with our next guest from Texas A&M College Station, Louis Bolina. who's going to join us. We're going to talk some Texas A&M football, but answer that question first before we go to Louis.
Well, it's going to be a lot of interesting dynamics. First of all, the hiring of El-Amin. I mean, he and Orgeron are both defensive guys. They're both fiery personalities. And, there's some questions on, how they're going to work together, and you're not going to know until they actually get on the field in spring practice, and then when the season arrives, how things go during games and so forth. Not to mention the fact that you've lost, a quarterback who maybe had the greatest single season of all time at the college level, and then you had 9 other players who left early with eligibility remaining to go into the NFL draft. I mean, I don't know how you can keep from, taking a step or two down there, just considering the division you're in. But I think one thing for sure is that the fan base is, I think they're going to have some leeway there, because I think they've been waiting for this for so long, and this season just, I think, exceeded even the most optimistic fans' expectations. That they're just, I think they just want to see a competitive team that, again, plays an exciting, entertaining style of offense.
Yeah. All right, Jimmy. Let's let Louis Bolina is on with us now from College Station, Texas, and called today, and he covers Texas A&M Aggie sports every day, and Jimbo Fisher just finished his second year. The recruiting class right now is sitting there at number 6. It could improve. Lots of stuff going on, but Texas A&M just completed their 8th year in the SEC. And Louis, welcome to the show, and tell us what's going on out there in Aggie land and what's in store going into spring practice with Jimbo.
Well, what's going on in Aggie land is trying to put that number 6 class to bed. They're trying to finish off the 24th and 25th class. High priority is getting the last running back. They're looking at a kid out of Arizona right now. This past offseason was interesting. The running backs coach, as you guys might know, went to Tennessee, and then 3 different running backs. Well, one senior's gone, 2 of them entered the portal. Oh, I'm not a big fan of the transfer portal, but that's a whole other story. So the running back room's left with, one scholarship running back. So this whole recruiting cycle, they got a JUCO kid in. That's the off-season story, is restocking the running back room. Heading into spring football, got to find a center, got to find a tackle, got to find a guard, got to fix the offensive line. It's the story of Aggie football for 2020. I mean, we could talk about the schedule, great schedule, Jimbo year 3, but if they don't fix the offensive line, there's not a whole lot of storylines that fall behind it. 13 of the early signing kids came in for the spring football. A lot of youth going to be depended on. Last year, they were the youngest team, a lot of underclassmen playing. So you have the 1-year experience mixed in with a lot of true freshmen they're going to be counted on. Spring football is going to be more important than ever, but, man, those 7-on-7s in the summer and fall camp's going to really shape this team.
Yeah, I agree. Jimmy, both of us, longtime SEC fans, A&M's been in the league 8 years. What do you think A&M's next step is? You talk about the offensive line. Louis right about that. But what have you seen out of Jimbo that makes you think that he is building and heading the program where they want to be, and that is to Atlanta?
Well, one thing you got to go on is his history. He's always been successful. He's won a national championship at Florida State. When he came to A&M, I think the immediate focus was on the fact that, he signed a 10-year deal for $75 million, and anytime the average fan sees that, they kind of expect immediate success. And in the SEC West, that isn't always a guarantee, but he's got an experienced quarterback that's very talented, and Kellen Mond, but at the same time, I think there's finally some serious expectations from that fan base that he really make a big step this coming year, because he's got the talent to do it, and they see Joe Burrow from last year, who obviously was an older player, but had seen a lot during his time at Ohio State in his first years as a starter at LSU, and I'm sure they're counting on him to have a monster year, and that's got to be a big key because we all know quarterback is that although there are 22 starting positions on the field, quarterback is it's the most important position on the field.
No doubt about it. Louis, what is the mindset of the Texas A&M fan base? 102, 105,000 at every game. Everybody that goes to Aggie Land. Jimmy, I don't know if you've been out there yet, but everybody I talk to that goes there comes back going, my God, this place, these people, it's just unbelievable. The facilities, but the fans, they are so connected. It's a spiritual connection to that university, as is with all the Ag schools, Auburn, Mississippi State. But the Aggies, just an enormous school in a huge state with 27 million people, about 375 Division I players a year coming out of that state. What do they need to be happy knowing they're competing in the toughest league, in the toughest division in college football in America?
Well, with the 2020 season, I think it's going to be 10 wins. This past season, 7-5, people are going to go, okay, it's year 2. Okay, look at all the players that were seniors and graduated. You know, there's a lot of, okay, we can accept why. You wanted more? You're hoping, you know, I know back in the summer there were talks about A&M as a preseason top 10, top 15 team. And some of the magazines, polls, you know, the things you follow in the offseason had A&M ranked that high. Nobody knew the offensive line was going to be that bad. That was the, Achilles heel nobody had a clue about. But this year, if you take a look at A&M's schedule, they're playing a 3-game schedule. At Auburn, at Alabama, and they'll be hosting LSU. Other than those 3 games, to be honest with you, it's 9 games they're going to be favored in. If they go 9-3, it'll be a year just like last year. When every game they're favored, but not win a single game, you're an underdog in, and that's not really showing progress behind a number 3 class 2 recruiting cycles ago. This one's going to be number 6. People here need 10 wins kind of as the min. In other words, you're only 1-3 against the upper class. You got to start beating them. And you know, A&M in the past 2 seasons have had trouble competing with them. Forget beating them. They got the LSU 7 overtime win 2 seasons ago, which really fueled that off-season hype towards top 10, top 15 team, which obviously didn't pan out. But the next step is beating and competing with Alabama and LSU. And when you play at Georgia, they played them tight. But, you know, Georgia kind of controlled late. A&M did the 4th quarter comeback. They did in a lot of games last year, but when you spend 3 quarters not competing, 1 quarter's not enough. But next year, it's got to be 10 wins.
Jimbo Fisher is a great quarterback coach. He's got Kellen Mond coming back. Jimmy, in your opinion, Jimbo, he had Jameis Winston, the number 1 pick in the draft at Florida State. And I want you to answer this question, then I want to throw it back to Louis. What is it about Jimbo that makes him such a great football coach / recruiter? And he wins. You go back to 93 when he was a 25-year-old assistant coaching quarterbacks at Auburn. His first recruit was a guy named Damian Craig out of Blunt High School down in Mobile, or Pritchard, actually. And he's on the staff with him now, I believe, at Texas A&M.
Well, yeah, he just has a proven track record of success. And he's coached the Heisman Trophy winner, Jameis Winston. He's coached a lot of great players during his career. As you mentioned, at Auburn, he had great success under Saban at LSU, and did a great job with Matt Martin. And so people know of Jimbo Fisher when he's coming to visit parents and they live in these 4- and 5-star recruits. So he's a big name coach. So it's easy to buy what he's selling. And A&M is it's a really neat place. I've been out there many times. When I was at Adidas, we were there when the 7-on-7 state championship started in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was held at A&M, and we sponsored it. And then I was at the 49-42 A&M Alabama game in 2013, Johnny Football's senior year, and it was just a sensational game. And the fans are they're just incredible. They love the school. They're just so easy to like. I probably think they're the most popular fan base among opposing teams in the SEC, probably by a long shot, except maybe Arkansas and their former rivals in the big the Southwest Conference.
Yeah.
Before it was the Big 12.
Yeah, that's right. Louis, let me ask you this next question. Who does A&M, you're out there in Aggie land, it's a big state. Texas A&M, 45,000 students. Who does A&M see as
69,000 on 70.
Wow. Okay. Who does A&M see as their biggest rival in the SEC?
LSU. That goes back in history. Before A&M was ever in the SEC, the Aggies and the Tigers have played a series. It was pretty rowdy. I remember, I got my own personal story. It was when I was a student at A&M, 87. LSU upset A&M, top 15 ranked. We got the Cajun fans rolling onto the track. Poor cadets trying to keep them off. There was a fight all on Northgate. The LSU fans showed up to get drunk on Wednesday for a Saturday game. They were invading the bars on Thursday night. I mean, it just has a little orderliness to it. There ain't anything too stupid happening yet. And so that goes back in history to the late early 80s, the 90s, when LSU bought out of the contract because they wanted to hire Jerry Donato, June like that. And so there's a little history even back before A&M joined the SEC. And then at one point, LSU beat A&M 6 times in a row. I think 5 of them before they came into the SEC. They're across the border from each other. They were quick. LSU likes to come cherry pick in the state of Texas on the recruiting trail. They go head to head. A&M, throughout its entire history, has always tried to take a kid or 3 from LSU. It was close to an auxiliary recruiting zone, as A&M has, and of course Texas, the state of, is the base. And it's LSU. So, you guys could talk to us. You're all SEC fans. Is this weird that LSU, like university fans, even administration, they seem a little bit whiny?
Louis, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah. Sounds like there's a little bit of noise in the background. I couldn't hear there. It's getting better now. Repeat that question.
Well, the LSU, like the fan base, the administration, coaches, they seem a little bit whiny. They don't seem like the most likable group.
Well, LSU fans, again, they look at all the talent they have in that state. They own the state of Louisiana, and they feel like they own eastern Texas over toward Houston for getting players out of there. But nobody has more fun than the LSU fans do. And they do feel like, yeah, they do. But I think they feel like, yeah, they should be doing better. Nick Saban really woke up the sleeping giant and had success there in the 5 years he was there, 2000 to 2004. Then you get Les Miles there, and he's running an offense that their fans would tell you was on a couple of stone tablets. And now they've got Coach O, and we have Jimmy Ott on from ESPN 104.5 in Baton Rouge a lot. He'll tell you 70 or 80% of the LSU fans did not think Coach O was a great hire. But Coach O has learned, you want to be a long-term coach, don't micromanage. And I think the LSU fans, especially after this year, are going to have a hard time accepting even an 11 or 12 win season. Jimmy, what do you think?
Oh, I think they're going to be fine if they can win 9 or 10. I think they realize what they're losing. Again, 9 players to early entry to the NFL draft. Joe Burrow, you're losing maybe the most sensational first-year assistant coaching hire maybe in college football history with Joe Brady. And then, Aranda's leaving. So I think they're realistic. I mean, I know lots of times it goes overboard for them. But I think a big part of their fan base understands, they're going to have some work cut out for them this year. But they're always going to expect to win. And with that being said, they're always going to have great talent. They're not going to be overwhelmed from a physical, talent, athleticism standpoint. that experience is clearly going to be an obstacle for them to overcome this year.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And Louis, we would love to have you back on the show again. It's great hearing out on the western flank, Aggie Land, huge, ginormous fan base. Tell folks how they can follow you on your daily show and all your social media.
Sure, on Twitter, I'm Louis B 1150 LOUIED 1150. You can follow me on Twitter. Hey, go to zone1150.com, zone1150.com. You can listen to me live on the website, zone1150.com. Also, radioaggieland.com. All our radio stations are there. You'll see the Zone. You can't miss it. We're all sports station. We're one of those stations Monday through Friday, all day long. It is Texas A&M. So if you ever want to get hooked up on the Aggies, and that's Aggie football, of course, we talk basketball, baseball, all the Aggie sports too. Go to zone1150.com, listen live, and of course, radioaggieland.com, click on the Zone. It's easy stuff if you want to get connected. And just learn more about Texas A&M.
Hey, look, we're going to have you back on next week if you can join us. I know we've got a lot going on. We get basketball. We got a lot to cover, but we'll get back with you next week. Check us out, Louis, sidelines.live. We'll put some Aggie stuff up there on the website. Jimmy, thanks so much for the call. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be joined by Wes Moore from Little Rock, talking some Razorback football and basketball and recruiting. After these messages from our sponsors, you're listening to Sidelines.
They're finished.
You know what my man cave needs?
What's that, Rob?
A giant screen TV with surround sound.
You should go to gaddishome.com.
That's right. They can do all of this without costing us a fortune. They can also put in the security cameras and outdoor lighting you've been wanting forever.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Hey, check them out at gaddishome.com or on our website, sidelines.live. That's Gaddis Home Innovation.
Where did you get that tailgate deal?
Cargo safe. Cargo safe.
Where's the best liquor deal?
Cargo safe. Cargo.
If you have a prize, let a deal go to GE Patterson and BBG. Become not inside yourself.
Damn right. All right, Rob Brown back here with you on Sidelines on a Friday afternoon, 4:20. We got another 40 minutes to go here on the show. We are talking SEC, college football, basketball, recruiting. Great guest. That's the first time guest, Louis Molina, out in College Station, Texas, talking Texas A&M, Aggie Nation. They do not lack for enthusiasm or confidence, and I absolutely love it. One of our callers, Joe, from down in Paris, Florida, sent me a bunch of videos when he went out to the Auburn, Texas A&M game this year. Rode on basically a rickshaw all around campus, drinking road sodas, having a great time. It was an absolutely awesome day out there. Of course, it was for him because Auburn won the game. But that fan base out there is incredible. It was 173 degrees, I think, with the wind chill. But these Aggie folks, they love their school. Let's say something real quick before we go to our next guest. Duncan Williams Asset Management is our title sponsor. We are proud to have them on board. Look forward to a long future with Duncan Williams Asset Management. Thank you so much for your support. And if you're interested in being a sponsor here on Sidelines, you can email us, or the numbers are on the website at sidelines.live. Call Audrey at 901-606-1929. She is the one who puts all this great